What if one unexpected question on a late-night television stage could change the entire atmosphere in a matter of seconds? What if Jungkook, known for carefully choosing his words whenever his deepest emotions are discussed, suddenly decided that there was one feeling he could no longer hide? And what if the person sitting across from him was Taehyung, watching every expression, every pause, and every word with an emotion that seemed impossible to conceal? Could this have been the moment Jungkook finally revealed what Taehyung truly means to him? Before we go any further, tell us what you think. If you believe Jungkook and Taehyung share a friendship that is deeper than ordinary words can explain, leave your thoughts in the comments. If this emotional story touches you, give the video a like, subscribe to the channel, and stay until the very end, because the final reaction may completely change the way you see the moment. And here is the question that has left ARMY imagining every possible explanation. What would happen if Jungkook were asked, in front of millions of viewers, to describe the person who had stayed beside him through some of the most difficult and unforgettable chapters of his life? But it ends with silence. A silence so powerful that even the laughter of the studio seemed to disappear. The lights of the television studio were bright. The audience was excited. Jimmy Fallon was smiling, the atmosphere appeared relaxed, and BTS were surrounded by the familiar energy of an international television appearance. Everything seemed normal at first. Then came the question. It was not aggressive. It was not complicated. It was the kind of question that could easily have produced a joke, a playful answer, or another moment of laughter. But Jungkook did not laugh immediately. Instead, he looked toward Taehyung. That single movement was enough to make the imaginary audience inside this story feel that something had changed. Taehyung noticed it too. For a brief moment, neither of them spoke. Jungkook lowered his eyes, smiled nervously, and then looked back toward the host. Jimmy repeated the question. Jungkook, when you think about the person who has understood you without you having to say much, who comes to mind? The studio became quiet. Jungkook appeared to think carefully. Then he turned toward Taehyung. And what happened next was the moment that, in this fictional story, would leave ARMY emotionally overwhelmed. Jungkook did not immediately say Taehyung's name. Instead, he smiled. It was not his usual playful smile. It was smaller, quieter, almost vulnerable. He took a breath and said that sometimes there were people in your life who did not need an explanation. They simply knew when something was wrong. Taehyung continued looking at him. Jungkook then said that throughout the years, there had been someone who could make difficult days feel lighter without even trying. Jimmy looked toward Taehyung. The audience reacted softly. And then Jungkook finally said his name. Taehyung. The atmosphere changed instantly. Taehyung lowered his head. He smiled. But the smile did not look completely happy. There was something emotional behind it. Something that appeared to suggest that the answer meant more to him than anyone expected. Jungkook continued. I think sometimes I don't say it enough. Those words were simple. Yet in the fictional scene, they carried enormous emotional weight. Taehyung slowly lifted his head. Jungkook looked directly at him. I don't always know how to explain what I feel, Jungkook said. But he has always been someone I could count on. For a moment, Taehyung appeared unable to respond. The audience became increasingly emotional. Jimmy smiled gently and gave them space. But Jungkook was not finished. He explained that people often saw celebrities on stages, in interviews, under bright lights, smiling for cameras and entertaining millions of people. But behind those moments were years of exhaustion, uncertainty, pressure, misunderstandings, and private struggles. And through many of those moments, there were members who had simply been there. Jungkook said that Taehyung was one of those people. Not because Taehyung always had the perfect answer. Not because he could solve every problem. But because sometimes simply having someone beside you was enough. Taehyung's expression changed. His smile disappeared. His eyes appeared to become watery. and then he looked away. That was when the audience began reacting emotionally. In the fictional narrative, the camera slowly focused on Taehyung. He tried to laugh. He shook his head. But Jungkook continued looking at him. "Why are you looking away?" Jungkook asked with a small smile. Taehyung laughed nervously. "Because you're making this embarrassing." The audience laughed. But the emotion remained. Jungkook smiled. Then he said something that made Taehyung pause again. "I mean it." 3 words. "I mean it." The room became quiet. And those 3 words became the emotional center of the entire moment. Taehyung looked at Jungkook. Jungkook did not look away. For years, fans had imagined countless conversations between the two. They had watched them joke together, tease each other, support one another, and share countless moments as members of BTS. But in this fictional story, this was different. There was no stage choreography. There was no song. There was no elaborate performance. There was only one person speaking honestly about another person who mattered to him. Jimmy then asked Taehyung how it felt to hear Jungkook say those words. Taehyung smiled. For several seconds he said nothing. Then he quietly answered that he did not know what to say. Jimmy asked why. Taehyung looked toward Jungkook again. "Because he doesn't usually say things like that." The audience reacted. Jungkook laughed softly. Taehyung continued. "He shows it more than he says it." Jungkook nodded. That answer seemed to touch him. Taehyung then explained that sometimes people who had known each other for a long time did not need to constantly tell each other how important they were. They simply knew. He said that there had been difficult days. There had been misunderstandings. There had been moments when everyone was busy and life became complicated. But friendship was not about never changing. It was about finding your way back to each other. Those words made the atmosphere even more emotional. Jungkook lowered his head. Taehyung noticed. He smiled. "You're going to cry?" Jungkook laughed. "No." Taehyung laughed too. But his eyes were still visibly emotional. Jimmy then asked a question that changed the mood again. "If you could tell Jungkook one thing right now, what would it be?" Taehyung paused. This time, he did not joke. He looked directly at Jungkook. "I would say thank you." Jungkook appeared surprised. "For what?" Taehyung smiled. "For staying." The audience went silent. Jungkook's expression changed. The playful smile disappeared. Taehyung continued. "Even when things were difficult. Even when we were busy. Even when we didn't talk as much. You were still there." Jungkook looked down. His eyes appeared emotional. Taehyung continued. "And I think sometimes we forget to say thank you to people who have been there for a long time." Jungkook nodded. Then Taehyung added something even more emotional. "You are important to me." The audience erupted into applause. Jungkook smiled. But his eyes appeared wet. He covered part of his face with his hand. Taehyung laughed softly. "See? Now you're embarrassed." Jungkook laughed through the emotion. The atmosphere became lighter. But something had changed. The words could not be taken back. The emotions had already been revealed. And perhaps that was what made the fictional moment so powerful. It was not about a dramatic confession. It was not about proving a rumor. It was not about creating a scandal. It was about 2 longtime friends acknowledging that their journey together had meant something. Yet the most surprising part came later. Jimmy, sensing the emotional atmosphere, asked Jungkook whether there was something he wished he had told Taehyung earlier. Jungkook became quiet. He looked at Taehyung. Then he said, "I wish I had told you that I was grateful for you." Taehyung blinked. Jungkook continued, There were times when I was tired and didn't know what to say. You still made me laugh. Taehyung smiled. There were times when I didn't want to talk. You didn't force me. Taehyung's smile became smaller. And there were times when I probably didn't show you enough that I appreciated you. Taehyung looked down. Jungkook continued. So, thank you? Taehyung appeared deeply moved. He took a breath. Then he quietly said, "Thank you too." The two looked at each other. No dramatic music was necessary. No elaborate words were needed. The silence itself became the emotional moment. For ARMY watching the fictional scene, the question would immediately become unavoidable. Was this simply friendship? Was it years of brotherhood and trust finally being expressed openly? Or were fans witnessing something more emotionally complicated? The story deliberately leaves that question unanswered. Because the most meaningful part was not the label. It was the connection. Jungkook's words were about gratitude. Taehyung's response was about staying. And together, those words created a moment that felt bigger than any single sentence. But then came the unexpected twist. Jimmy asked Taehyung whether he remembered the first time Jungkook made him feel truly understood. Taehyung laughed. He said there were too many moments. Jimmy asked him to choose one. Taehyung thought for a moment. Then he said there was a time when he had been having a difficult day, but Jungkook did not ask many questions. Instead, Jungkook simply stayed nearby. That memory seemed small. But Taehyung explained why it mattered. Sometimes when you're sad, people ask you what's wrong again and again. But sometimes you don't need questions. You just need someone who doesn't leave. Jungkook listened quietly. Taehyung looked at him. He didn't leave. The audience applauded. Jungkook appeared emotional again. And that was the point when the fictional story reached its most powerful emotional realization. Perhaps the deepest kind of friendship is not built from spectacular moments. Perhaps it is built from ordinary moments. Sitting beside someone. Waiting. Listening. Making them laugh. Giving them space. Returning when they need you. And staying even when there is nothing impressive to say. That was the message hidden beneath Jungkook's fictional confession. He was not confessing to a romance. He was confessing gratitude. He was admitting that someone had mattered. And Taehyung's reaction suggested that hearing those words after so many years carried a different kind of weight. The conversation continued. Jimmy asked Jungkook whether Taehyung had changed over the years. Jungkook smiled. Yes. How? Jungkook laughed. He became more confident. Taehyung laughed. And more strange. The audience laughed. Jungkook continued teasing him. But I think that's why I like being around him. Taehyung looked surprised. Why? Because you make everything less serious. Taehyung smiled. Jungkook explained that life could become extremely serious when you were constantly working, traveling, performing, and dealing with expectations. Sometimes someone who could make you laugh was incredibly valuable. Taehyung nodded. Then he added that Jungkook had also changed. Jimmy asked how? Taehyung answered that Jungkook had become stronger. But then he corrected himself. Actually, I think he became better at hiding when he's tired. Jungkook looked at him. Taehyung continued. That is different from becoming stronger. The room became quiet again. That sentence surprised everyone. Jungkook looked at Taehyung as if he had not expected the answer. Taehyung explained that being strong did not mean pretending everything was fine. Sometimes strength meant admitting that you needed someone. Jungkook smiled. Then he nodded. You're right. That simple response made the moment feel even more intimate emotionally. It suggested that the fictional conversation was no longer about entertainment. It had become a reflection on growing up. The two had spent years together. They had experienced enormous changes. They had become global stars. They had faced pressure that ordinary people could hardly imagine. And through it all, they had continued to share a friendship that had evolved over time. The fictional interview then took another unexpected turn when Jimmy asked Jungkook what he would miss most if Taehyung were suddenly far away. Jungkook laughed nervously. "That is a difficult question." Jimmy smiled. "Why?" "Because there are too many things." Taehyung teased him. "Just say one." Jungkook looked at him. "Your voice." Taehyung appeared surprised. "My voice?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because I know when you're happy. I know when you're annoyed. I know when you're pretending to be okay." Taehyung became silent. Jungkook smiled. "And I know when you're about to say something ridiculous." The audience laughed. Taehyung laughed too. But the emotional tone remained. Jungkook then said that familiar voices become part of your life. When you spend enough time with someone, you begin to recognize their emotions without needing an explanation. Taehyung nodded. Then he quietly said, "I understand." Jimmy smiled. "Is that why you two always seem to know what the other person is thinking?" Taehyung laughed. "Sometimes." Jungkook nodded. "Sometimes we don't even need to talk." That sentence became another moment fans would remember. Because there was something universal about it. Many people have someone in their lives who understands them without explanation. A sibling. A childhood friend. A partner. A parent. Or simply someone who has walked beside them long enough to recognize the silence. The fictional story never needed to define what Jungkook and Taehyung were to each other beyond what they themselves expressed. They were important. They were connected. They had history. They cared. And that was enough. But then Taehyung unexpectedly turned toward Jungkook and said something that made the entire mood change. "You know what I really remember?" Jungkook looked at him. "What?" "You always told me not to worry." Jungkook smiled. Taehyung continued. "But you were the one worrying." Jungkook laughed. "That sounds like me." Taehyung shook his head. "You always tried to protect everyone." Jungkook became quiet. Taehyung said that sometimes he wanted Jungkook to understand that he did not always have to carry everything alone. Jungkook looked at him. Then he said, "I know that now." Taehyung smiled. "Good." There was another pause. And then Jungkook said, "Because you taught me." Taehyung looked surprised. The audience applauded. Jungkook continued, "You taught me that it's okay to depend on people." Taehyung's expression softened. "And I'm grateful for that." Taehyung covered his face briefly. Jimmy laughed gently. "You two are making my show very emotional tonight." Everyone laughed. But the fictional story had already gone far beyond a typical late-night interview. The conversation had become a reminder of something simple. The concerts. The awards. The cameras. The performances. The headlines. The viral clips. But relationships are usually built in moments that nobody sees. A quiet conversation. A joke backstage. A supportive message. A shared meal. A moment of silence. A hand on someone's shoulder. A person choosing to stay. And perhaps that was why Taehyung's reaction affected the fictional army audience so deeply. He did not need to say much. His face said enough. His silence said enough. And Jungkook's words gave that silence a voice. The fictional interview eventually moved toward a final question. Jimmy asked, "If you could describe Taehyung in one word, what would it be?" Jungkook smiled. He thought carefully. Then he said, "Home." Taehyung immediately looked at him. The audience reacted loudly. Jungkook laughed nervously. Jimmy raised his eyebrows. "Home?" Jungkook nodded. "Yes." He explained that home did not necessarily mean a place. Sometimes home was a person around whom you did not have to pretend. Someone who knew your awkward side. Someone who had seen you fail. Someone who had seen you tired. Someone who knew your weaknesses. Someone who had watched you grow. And still stayed. Taehyung looked down. His eyes appeared wet. Jungkook continued. "That is what I mean." Taehyung slowly nodded. Then he looked at Jungkook and smiled. "What about you?" Jimmy asked Taehyung the same question. Taehyung thought for a long time. Finally, he said, "Family." Jungkook smiled. The audience erupted in applause. Taehyung explained that family was not always about blood. Sometimes it was about years. Years of memories. Years of arguments. Years of laughter. Years of supporting each other. Years of growing together. And that was what Jungkook represented to him. Family. Jungkook nodded. The two smiled. The moment appeared complete. But just before the interview ended, Jimmy asked one final question. "Is there anything you want ARMY to know?" Jungkook looked toward the audience. Then he looked at Taehyung. He said that fans often saw the finished version of their lives. They saw performances. They saw interviews. They saw pictures. They saw smiles. But there were countless moments they never saw. Moments when the members supported one another privately. Moments when someone was tired. Moments when someone needed encouragement. Moments when they simply sat together. Jungkook said that those unseen moments were often the ones that mattered most. Taehyung nodded. Then Jungkook added, "So if you ever see us laughing together, remember that there is a long story behind that laugh." The audience applauded. Taehyung smiled. And then, almost as an afterthought, Jungkook said, "And I'm thankful that I got to grow up with him." Taehyung looked at him. That sentence was the final emotional blow. His expression softened. He smiled. Then he leaned slightly toward Jungkook. "You too." The audience erupted. Jungkook laughed. Taehyung laughed. Jimmy smiled. And the fictional interview ended not with a dramatic revelation, but with two people acknowledging the years they had shared. Yet outside the fictional studio, the imagined reaction from ARMY was enormous. Some fans cried. Some replayed the moment repeatedly. Some debated the meaning of the word home. Others focused on Taehyung's emotional reaction. Some believed the moment demonstrated the extraordinary bond between two people who had grown together. Others argued that the emotional language should not automatically be interpreted romantically. And perhaps that was the most important lesson. When celebrities share emotional moments, fans naturally search for hidden meanings. They analyze expressions. They pause videos. They interpret gestures. They compare old moments with new ones. They search for clues. But sometimes the most beautiful explanation is also the simplest. Two friends can love each other deeply without that love needing a romantic definition. Two people can become family through years of shared experiences. Two people can understand one another because they have survived difficult seasons together. And in this fictional story, that was exactly what Jungkook's words represented. A confession of gratitude. A confession of appreciation. A confession that Taehyung had mattered. Not because of a headline. Not because of a rumor. Not because fans demanded an answer. But because some relationships deserve to be acknowledged. The fictional scene also reminded viewers of something else. Jungkook has often been portrayed by fans as someone who expresses affection through actions rather than elaborate speeches. Taehyung, meanwhile, is often imagined as someone who can bring humor and warmth into tense situations. Together, those contrasting personalities create a friendship that feels natural in the fictional narrative. One speaks carefully. The other responds emotionally. One tries to hide his feelings. The other notices them anyway. And perhaps that dynamic was what made the imagined Jimmy Fallon interview so powerful. There was no need for a shocking announcement. There was no need for scandal. There was no need to confirm speculation. The emotional truth of the fictional story existed in something much more ordinary. I am grateful for you. I am thankful you stayed. You are important to me. Family. Home. Those words can mean different things to different people. And perhaps that is why they resonate so strongly. For someone watching from home, the story might remind them of a friend they have known for years. Someone who stayed when everyone else disappeared. Someone who knew their worst days. Someone who could make them laugh when they wanted to cry. Someone who did not need explanations. Someone who simply remained. That kind of relationship is rare. And when people find it, they often do not realize its value until they look back. Perhaps that was the hidden emotional message behind Jungkook's fictional confession. Time changes people. Success changes circumstances. Distance changes routines. Life becomes busier. People grow. But some connections survive those changes. Not because they remain exactly the same, but because both people continue choosing the relationship. That is what makes the fictional moment meaningful. Jungkook did not say that Taehyung had never disappointed him. Taehyung did not say that they had never disagreed. Instead, their imagined words suggested something more realistic. They had grown. They had changed. They had experienced difficult moments. And yet they remained connected. That is why the line, "Thank you for staying," became so powerful. Staying does not mean never leaving the room. It means continuing to care. Continuing to return. Continuing to recognize someone even after life changes. And perhaps Taehyung's emotional reaction came from understanding exactly that. He knew what those years meant. Jungkook knew too. The fictional audience knew only a fraction of it. But sometimes a single sentence can open the door to an entire history. And that is exactly what happened when Jungkook looked toward Taehyung and said that he was grateful. One sentence. Years of memories behind it. The fictional interview then ended. The studio lights remained bright. The audience continued applauding. Jimmy thanked BTS. The members smiled. But Taehyung and Jungkook shared one final look. It lasted only a moment. A small smile. A quiet nod. Nothing dramatic. Nothing that could be definitively interpreted as anything beyond affection and friendship. Yet for the fictional army watching, that moment became unforgettable. Because sometimes the smallest gestures carry the largest emotions. A look. A smile. A nod. A quiet "Thank you?" And perhaps that is why this imaginary story would leave fans crying. Not because Jungkook revealed some scandalous secret. Not because Taehyung confirmed some rumor. But because two people who had spent so much of their lives together finally allowed themselves to say something they might normally keep private. You matter to me. I remember. I am grateful. I am glad you stayed. Those words are simple. But they can change everything. And if there is one question that remains after the fictional interview, it is not whether Jungkook and Taehyung should be given a particular label. The real question is much more human. Who is the person in your life who feels like home? Who stayed when you were difficult to understand? Who made you laugh when you wanted to disappear? Who knew your silence? Who remembered the version of you that existed before the world knew your name? For Jungkook, in this fictional story, the answer was Taehyung. And for Taehyung, the answer was equally emotional. Family. That was the surprise. Not a scandal. Not a secret romance. Not a dramatic revelation. But something perhaps even more powerful. Recognition. Recognition of years spent together. Recognition of support. Recognition of friendship. Recognition of the people who remain beside us when the cameras disappear. The story may be fictional, but the emotion behind it is universal. Every person understands what it means to have someone who feels familiar. Someone whose presence makes difficult moments easier. Someone whose laughter can change the mood of an entire room. Someone who can tell when you are pretending to be okay. Someone who knows when to speak. And more importantly, someone who knows when to simply stay. That is why the imagined reaction of ARMY became so emotional. They were not only watching Jungkook talk about Taehyung. They were watching a story about human connection. They were watching a reminder that even people who appear strong on television can have moments of vulnerability. They were watching someone admit that another person had helped him through life. And perhaps fans cried because they understood. The strongest relationships are not always the loudest. Sometimes they are quiet. Sometimes they are built through ordinary days. Sometimes they survive arguments. Sometimes they survive distance. Sometimes they survive years of change. And sometimes, after all those years, one person finally looks at another and says, "I never told you enough, but I am grateful." That was the heart of this fictional Jimmy Fallon moment. A question created suspense. A glance created curiosity. A confession created silence. Taehyung's reaction created emotion. And the final words created a memory. For viewers, the unanswered question remained. What did Jungkook really mean when he called Taehyung home? Was it simply a metaphor for friendship? Was it a reflection of their years together? Was it the language of family? Or did each fan hear something different in those words? Perhaps there is no single answer. And perhaps there does not need to be one. Because the beauty of a story like this is that it allows everyone to interpret the emotion through their own experiences. For some, Jungkook and Taehyung represent friendship. For others, they represent brotherhood. For others, they represent the comfort of people who grew up together. And for many fans, they simply represent a bond that has brought joy over the years. Whatever interpretation a viewer chooses, one thing remains clear within this fictional narrative. Jungkook wanted Taehyung to know that he mattered. Taehyung wanted Jungkook to know that he had never been alone. And that exchange was enough to make the imaginary studio audience emotional. The final image of the story is perhaps the simplest. The cameras begin moving away. Jimmy thanks them. The audience applauds. The lights begin to soften. Jungkook looks at Taehyung. Taehyung looks back. Neither says anything. Then Jungkook smiles. Taehyung smiles too. And for one brief moment, there is no pressure. No headline. No speculation. No expectations. Just two friends who have spent years growing together. Two people who understand that some feelings are difficult to explain. Two people who know that sometimes a relationship cannot be summarized in one sentence. And perhaps that is why Jungkook's fictional confession feels so powerful. Because he did not need to say everything. He only needed to say enough. "I am grateful for you." Taehyung's response was equally simple. "Thank you for staying." And suddenly, an ordinary television interview became something much more emotional. A reminder of friendship. A reminder of family. A reminder of time. A reminder that behind every public smile are private memories that audiences may never know. And perhaps that is the biggest surprise of all. The moment fans expected to become a playful television segment instead became an imagined confession about the importance of having someone beside you. Someone who understands. Someone who remembers. Someone who stays. As the fictional story comes to an end, one question remains for everyone watching. If you had 1 minute on a stage in front of millions of people, what would you tell the person who has always been there for you? Would you say thank you? Would you say I miss you? Would you say you changed my life? Or would you simply look at them and say the words that are often hardest to speak? You matter to me. Maybe that was what made Jungkook's fictional moment with Taehyung so emotional. Not the fame. Not the cameras. Not the headlines. But the honesty. Because behind every successful person is a history that viewers do not see. And behind every long friendship are countless moments that never become public. In this fictional story, Jungkook finally gave one of those unseen feelings a voice. And Taehyung finally allowed himself to receive it. The result was not a scandal. It was not a confirmation of rumors. It was something more timeless. Two people acknowledging that their journey together had mattered. And for ARMY, that was enough to bring tears. If this fictional story made you emotional, share your thoughts below. What did you think Jungkook meant when he described Taehyung as home? Do you think Taehyung's reaction was the most emotional part of the story, or did Jungkook's confession affect you more? Tell us which moment stayed in your mind the longest. And remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications for more emotional BTS-inspired stories. Because sometimes the biggest stories are not about what happened under the brightest lights. Sometimes they are about what people finally find the courage to say. And sometimes the words that make millions of people cry are only 3 simple words. Thank you for staying. For the purposes of clarity, this is a fictional, fan-created narrative inspired by the public personas of Jungkook and Taehyung. It should not be interpreted as a factual report, confirmed confession, or evidence of a real private relationship or conversation involving BTS members or Jimmy Fallon. Disclaimer: this video is a fictional, fan-created story inspired by Jungkook, Taehyung, BTS, and their public personas. The events, conversations, emotions, and statements presented in this story are dramatized for entertainment purposes and should not be considered real news, confirmed statements, or factual accounts. There is no intention to misrepresent any real person, private relationship, interview, or event. Viewers are encouraged to treat this content as fan fiction and entertainment, not as verified information.